It all happened in an instant. One moment, Juliane Koepcke was sitting in her seat, staring out the window at the thick clouds below. The next, she was falling. The plane had just been struck by lightning, a terrifying but rare event. While modern aircraft are designed to withstand lightning strikes, back in 1971, safety standards were different. Lanza Flight 508 was already operating under poor maintenance, and the storm it flew into was unlike anything a commercial plane should have faced. A deafening explosion ripped through the cabin. The aircraft started breaking apart mid-air. People were screaming. Luggage flew in every direction, and then darkness. Juliane didn't remember the exact moment she was thrown from the plane. All she knew was that she was no longer inside. She was in the sky, plummeting toward the earth from over 10,000 feet. Before we continue, if you're fascinated by real-life survival stories and incredible human endurance, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We bring you unbelievable yet true stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, back to Juliane's terrifying fall. The human body is not built to survive a fall from such a height. Terminal velocity, the maximum speed a falling body can reach, is around 120 miles per hour for a person in free fall. At that speed, impact with the ground is almost always fatal. But something incredible happened. Juliane was still strapped to her seat, and as she spun uncontrollably, the thick canopy of the Amazon rainforest acted as a natural parachute. The tangled branches and dense leaves slowed her descent just enough to make survival possible. And then, impact. When she opened her eyes, everything was blurry. Her head pounded, her body ached, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. She was lying on her back, looking up at the sky through a tangle of trees. She was alive. She didn't know how long she had been unconscious. Minutes, hours, maybe longer. As she slowly sat up, a sharp pain shot through her shoulder. Her collarbone was broken. Deep cuts covered her legs. One eye was swollen shut. Her right arm had an open wound crawling with maggots. But against all odds, she had survived a fall that should have killed her. She called out for her mother. Silence. The jungle swallowed her voice, the only reply coming from the distant cries of unseen animals. She was alone. Juliane had grown up in the rainforest. Her parents were both scientists, and she had spent years studying the jungle alongside them. If it had been anyone else, someone unfamiliar with the Amazon, they might not have lasted a single day. But Juliane knew the rules of survival. The first rule: find water. She remembered what her father had once told her. If you're ever lost in the jungle, find a stream. It will always lead to a river, and rivers lead to people. So she started walking. The jungle was suffocating, hot, humid, and alive in ways that felt almost predatory. Over 60% of the Amazon rainforest is completely uncharted. Even today, there are places where no human has ever set foot. And Juliane was stranded right in the heart of it. She had no food, no supplies, just the torn dress on her back and one sandal, the other lost during the fall. She moved carefully, avoiding the dangers she knew were hidden all around her. Venomous snakes disguised as vines. Poisonous frogs no bigger than a fingernail. Bullet ants whose sting is said to feel like being shot. After hours of struggling through the undergrowth, she finally stumbled upon a small stream. Relief flooded her chest. This was her lifeline. For the next 10 days, she followed the water. She drank from the stream, but food was almost impossible to find. Occasionally, she came across small candies from the wreckage, her only source of nourishment. But hunger was relentless. She knew which plants were safe to eat, but there was little edible vegetation in her path. She found some fruits, but even those had to be carefully inspected. Many Amazonian fruits are toxic. She resorted to eating whatever she could find: small berries, the soft pulp inside palm trees, and even insects. One day, she saw a group of monkeys in the trees above. They were eating a certain type of fruit, and she remembered something her father had once taught her. If the monkeys eat it, it's usually safe for humans. Desperate, she picked up the fallen fruits and ate them. It wasn't much, but it kept her going. Nights were the worst. The darkness was absolute, wrapping around her like a living thing. Strange noises echoed through the jungle, unfamiliar, haunting. The deep, guttural growl of a jaguar, the eerie clicks of unseen insects, the constant hum of mosquitoes that feasted on her open wounds. On the fourth day, she noticed something horrifying. Her right arm was infected. Maggots were burrowing into the wound, eating away at her flesh. She remembered reading that gasoline could kill parasites, so when she stumbled upon a piece of wreckage containing a small amount of fuel, she poured it over the wound. The pain was unbearable, but it worked. The maggots writhed and died, and she forced herself to keep moving. Days passed, her body was shutting down. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Her vision blurred. She was covered in cuts, bruises, and insect bites. But she kept walking, step by step, mile by mile. And then, on the 10th day, she saw something that made her heart race. A small boat. It was tied near the riverbank, real and solid. Not a hallucination. She stumbled toward it, collapsing in exhaustion. She wanted to scream for help, but her voice was barely a whisper. Then, a group of local fishermen found her, barely clinging to life. They treated her wounds, gave her food and water, and the next day, took her downriver to safety. After 10 days alone in the jungle, after falling 10,000 feet from the sky, Juliane Koepcke had survived. Her story stunned the world. No one had ever survived a free fall from such a height before. Scientists debated how she had made it. Some believed the updrafts from the storm had slowed her fall. Others credited the jungle canopy for breaking her impact. But Juliane herself never saw it as a miracle. It was luck, she later said, and knowledge. She went on to become a scientist, dedicating her life to the very rainforest that had once tried to claim her. Juliane Koepcke's story is more than just a tale of survival. It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the face of impossible odds, there is always a way through.